Hello and welcome to Pet Pals. I'm Bethany Davidson, the Humane Educator here at Frederick County Animal Control and Pet Adoption Center. You may notice that our set looks a little different today. We are in the process of doing some renovations, as I've mentioned on previous shows, and that's put us out of our studio space for the day. So we're going to make things work, and we're still going to show you some great lovable and adoptable pets. And the first pet that we have for you here with Tammy is the smallest animal on the floor right now. This is Sammy, and he is a 7-year-old Yorkie. He is very sweet. He takes a little bit of time to warm up to new people and new surroundings, but once he warms up, he is super affectionate. He just wants to cuddle and lay on your lap. He walks really nicely on a leash. We did take him to an event recently, and he did pretty well. Some of the big dogs he felt were a little intimidating, but he didn't bark at them. He just kind of shied away. He was also kind of afraid of one of our overly energetic cats. But he has lived in a home previously with another smaller dog, a Shih Tzu, and 3 adult cats. Sammy made his way to us because his owner was a senior and he was no longer able to care for him, which brings us to an important point. When you have an animal, regardless of your personal age, it's important to have a plan in place for what will happen to your animals if something happens to you. A lot of people make plans for their property and for their children, but they forget that their animals also need a place to go when we as pet owners are no longer able to care for those animals. So it's good to have a plan in place. Aside from Sammy's sweet and affectionate demeanor and his small size, you have to take into consideration that even though he's adorable, he is a senior dog and he does have some medical needs. With Sammy, we're primarily talking about his teeth. He is going to need extensive, major, expensive dental work, probably having the majority of, or if not all of his teeth removed. That's going to be something that's going to run his new adopter about $2,000. So if you're interested in Sammy, you need to make sure that you can also take on that financial expense. That is something that's going to be very important for his overall health as well as his quality of life. If you're interested in adopting Sammy, come in and visit him here at the shelter. We are located at 1832 Rosemont Avenue. As a senior at 7 years old, his adoption fee would be $72.50. This long and lanky love bug is Shadow, and he's 9 months old, and he is a Plot Hound mix. Like most hounds, he's a little bit of a goofball. He loves to play, and because he's a hound, he has he wants to run around, he wants to sniff everything, he's gonna bark. So apartment life is not for Shadow. So we're looking for a family that does not live in an apartment for him. He is a great dog. As you can see, once he's comfortable with you, he's really comfortable with you. He wants to cuddle and play with you and give kisses. But it does take him a minute to warm up. His previous owners were moving and they were unable to care for him, so they brought him here to us, and they noted all over his paperwork that he loves people, but he does need to get used to you first. So you don't want to just rush up to him. He can be a bit of a nervous dog. He's familiar with other dogs, but thank you, Shadow. He has exhibited some nervousness around the other dogs in the kennel. The kennel is a scary environment, so it's not always a great indicator of how they'll be when they're in a more typical home-like environment. We behavior assessed him, and we do that for all of the dogs, but what we learned about Shadow is that he does need someone to work with him on house training. He's not keeping his kennel clean. He is friendly, but again, he's cautious when you approach his kennel. He's no reaction with other dogs except for a bit of nervousness. He does take a little bit of coaxing because he's shy in this new environment to get him out of his kennel. But once he warms up, he's easy to walk, easy to obtain. He's relaxed but a little nervous when you maintain eye contact with him. Our kennel staff, when they assessed him, said that he's a very intense eater, so that's something that you might want to work with him on. When they assessed him, he wasn't very interested in the toys. He didn't really commit to playing with any of them. but as you can see, Tammy's found some toys that he really enjoys, and he's really into playing with them. He likes to be petted. As you can see, he climbs right up in a lap. So he's going to make a great pet, but you have to think about the type of breed that he is, and can you provide the best life for him. So giving him an outlet to exercise and run around and be goofy is really going to be important. Because Shadow is a puppy at 9 months old, he's going to be adopted through our puppy process, which means we'll take up to 4 applications for him, choosing the best fit for him, the best lifestyle for him. And our puppies are adopted for a fee of $150. Our next guest is Reagan, and she's one of 3 Rottie mixes that we have on the adoption floor right now. Bella, who was on the show last week, is full on applications, will hopefully be adopted soon. And then the other Rottie, who is actually Reagan's sister, Sarah, is full on applications as well. So they'll hopefully be adopted. Reagan, however, is still looking for potential adopters and new families. One of the things I think that makes Reagan harder to adopt is that we are asking that she only go to a house with older children or adults only. She can be a bit excitable. She needs someone to help teach her some manners. And because of that, we don't want any really young kids in the house. Usually we say around 12 and up is what we mean when we say older kids. So that the kids are old enough to understand dog body language and respect for an animal, so that we don't get any incidences where maybe somebody's pulling on her tail and she's not accustomed to that and she gets, a little upset. We don't want anybody to create a situation for the dog or for the family where things could go wrong based on fear or just inappropriate handling. It's always important to teach our children to respect our animals. We're not supposed to be riding them or sitting on them. Just giving them the appropriate attention that they love and deserve. Reagan is about 10 months old, so she is also going to be adopted through our puppy process. She is currently housed with her sister, so she does get along with other dogs. If you're thinking about adding Reagan as a 2nd or 3rd dog to your home, it is important and always recommended to bring your dog in to meet with her to see how they would do together. It gives you not a 100% idea of how it will be, but it gives you a good enough idea to know if that's something that you can work with a little bit of time and training, or if it's something that's just not going to work out at all. Our behavior assessment for her, again, just indicates that she's a sweet dog who can be a bit excitable. She can be a bit possessive of her food. And she just needs someone who can train her to give her some basic manners. She does have some stuff under her belt already. She does do the nice sit. It seems like she's taking her treats pretty gently. But she can be shy or difficult to walk. She can pull pretty hard. She loves to play tug, which is not always something that you want to encourage all the time. It's good to have a specific tug toy and to train her with that game. If you're interested in Reagan, you can visit her here at Animal Control. We are again located at 1832 Rosemont Avenue, and that adoption fee for our puppies is $150. Our next guest is Clyde, and he has been on our show before, but he's still looking for his forever home, so we wanted to give him another opportunity to show off what a great animal he really is. Clyde's about 1.5 years old, and he has a beautiful tan and white coat. He is a pit bull mix. When he sits down, you can see that he's got a lot of muscle. He has a lot of strength in him, but deep inside, he's really kind of still just a puppy. He's very anxious in the kennel. It's not a typical environment. So his behavior in his kennel is not always representative of how he is, and he's kind of seems just a little anxious in general. He needs to be socialized a little bit more, exposed to more things, and he also needs some basic manners training. Even though he knows sit and can catch treats in his mouth and things like that, he's a little mouthy in that no one really taught him what are appropriate things to stick his mouth on. Sticking his mouth on his toys is okay, but sticking his mouth on people's hands and coats and his leash is not really okay. So he needs someone to really invest some time to train him, properly socialize him, so that Clyde can be the best version of himself. He really does have a sweet personality. He will give you kisses, he will cuddle with you, he rides really nicely in the car. He just has some things that he needs to work on, and it's not his fault that he wasn't trained to do those things at a younger age. So he just needs someone who can help him, learn those manners and kind of boost his confidence a little bit. Clyde was brought to us because they were not allowed to have a dog on the property. So what that suggests to me is that someone who was renting and wasn't allowed to have an animal, got an animal, and then they got caught. So when people ask us what are the processes, one of the things that we do when we're selecting an adopter for an animal is check with their landlord. If your landlord says that you cannot have a pet, we will not adopt you for exactly this reason. We don't want the animals to then end up back in the shelter because the landlord found out that you were having a pet that you weren't supposed to have. So that's just one of our many steps as far as our adoption process, and that's to ensure that the animals aren't going to get returned. No heartbreak for them, no heartbreak for you when you fall in love with an animal and are unable to keep it. But again, Clyde has a lot of potential. He's very smart, but he just needs someone who's really willing to be patient and consistent and spend a lot of time with him. Our phone number is 301-600-1546. The last dog guest that we have for you today is a guest that was on last week. This is Grandma Tala, and she is quickly becoming everyone's favorite here around the shelter. She has the sweetest personality, and unfortunately, adopters just aren't looking at her. No one's really taken an interest, so that's why we thought we would have her on the show again today, to give people another chance to see what a wonderful pet she is. We have her listed as a pit bull mix, which can be a problem for some people in that their landlords won't let them have pit bulls in the home. But another thing that's kind of a deterrent for some people is that she's an older dog. We have her listed at 8+. Because of the condition of her body, it might lead us to believe that she's a little older. It just doesn't appear that she's had the easiest life. She has some scars on her face, a little L-shaped scar by her eye. She has some scarring and hair loss on her back. She also has some heavy, thick calluses on her elbows type of area there from probably sleeping on hard surfaces. But her teeth are really good, except for the fact that there's some gray staining on there that comes from chewing on chain link fence. Her muscle tone is really good, and she's actually very strong. When she wants to go somewhere around the shelter, she pushes open the doors all on her own. When she's on a mission, she's go, go, go. She did have some lumps and bumps when she came in, but as you can see, she has some shaved areas and some stitches. We've gone through and removed most of those for her. So there's no real indication right now as to if those are things that are going to come back or not. But we did go ahead and remove those for her. Again, stop by and visit us here at the shelter, and we will be happy to introduce you to Grandma Tala. That's going to wrap it up for this portion of the show. After the break, we're going to introduce you to 5 cats that are looking for forever homes here with us.
Did you know a person can have colorectal cancer and yet have no symptoms? Symptoms of colorectal cancer may include bleeding, blood in the stool, abdominal pain or mass, and changes in bowel movements. Ask your doctor if you should be screened for colorectal cancer. Call the Frederick County Health Department at 301-600-3362 for more information or for free colorectal cancer screening for eligible individuals.
Welcome back. Our first cat guest is Georgia, and Georgia is a return to shelter. She was with us a few months ago, and her owners brought her back to us. It wasn't working out for them, and Georgia's come back to the shelter for one of the strangest reasons that I've heard. Georgia came back because she was too affectionate. She's too active for her owner. She's too much for them. So they brought her back to us. A lot of people ask us for a cat just like Georgia. The cat that will let you cuddle them as long as you want, wants to be with you all the time, wants to sit on your lap, sit on your bed. So if that's what you're looking for, stop in as quickly as possible, because cats like Georgia don't stay here in the shelter for very long. She is a young cat. She's about a year old. When she first came in, last time, she did have some hair loss, so that's probably, I believe, from a flea allergy. So even if she's an indoor-only cat, you want to make sure that you're keeping her up to date on flea and tick preventative, just to prevent that hair loss from happening again. She does also have a missing upper left canine tooth, as well as on her paw, and it's kind of hard to see. On her paw, that's mostly the creamy orange color, she's kind of like missing a little toe there. There's a gap. So just is something that makes her unique and special. But she's a very affectionate cat. She's feeling a little anxious coming out of her safe zone, which is her cage right now. She went from living in a home to living in one of our back area cages to being on the adoption floor relatively quickly. So there's a lot going on in her life, but our volunteers are doing a great job of making sure that she's getting the attention that she needs and deserves while she's here with us until we can get her into another new home. Our adoption fee for our cats is $97.50. That includes spaying or neutering, microchipping, rabies vaccines, county license, distemper vaccines, deworming, flea and tick preventative, microchipping, and a free well visit to the vet. So you really can't beat what you're getting for that price. If you wanted to stop in and visit with Georgia or any of the animals that are available for adoption, our hours of operation where the kennels are open and the animals are viewable are Monday, Tuesday, and Friday from 10 to 5, Wednesdays and Thursdays from 12 to 8, and Saturdays from 10 to 4. Our next guest is the oldest cat on our adoption floor right now. This is Fuzzy Bear, and he is 14 years old, and he actually came in with his sister China, and China is very, very shy, much more so than Fuzzy Bear, so she's actually part of our Fraidy Cat program, so she's not on the adoption floor where most people would be able to see her. So she's getting some training with some of our volunteers on how to be open to love and affection, and then once she's gotten used to those volunteers, then maybe she'll transition her way out onto the adoption floor. But Fuzzy Bear is a sweet guy. He's a domestic medium hair. He's a gray tabby and white, and he is definitely one of the shyer animals on the floor. But he's an older cat. He's more reserved. He's not asking for attention like some of the other cats are. He's kind of hangs out in the back of his cage, not really reaching out for people. He lived his entire life with one owner, and as his owner's health declined, she brought Fuzzy Bear and China to us so that we could find them other homes where they could finish out their lives. Some people think, oh, an older cat, I don't really want to take that on. Older cats are great because they are calmer. Depending on the homes where they've lived, they understand things like don't scratch furniture, don't jump on counters. They're more relaxed, so if you're looking for a quieter companion, then an older cat is great. And cats can live anywhere from 10 to 20 years, so saying, oh, well, he's an older cat, I don't want to have him for just a year. You could have him for a year, or you could have him for, 5, 6, 7 more years. It really just depends. And older cats do have, and older animals in general, do tend to have some more health problems. So making sure that if you fall in love with Fuzzy and you're thinking about taking him on, make sure you can afford medical care in the future. Pet insurance is available, so sometimes that's a good option if you're not sure what kinds of things might creep up. I do believe he's recommended to have a dental in the next 12 months. So making sure his teeth are cleaned, and any teeth that are unhealthy or pulled out will definitely increase his health and also his quality of life. You can stop in and visit with him. Because he is a senior cat, he does have a senior discount. So because he's 14, he would be adopted for $40 off, making his adoption fee $57.50. So here at Animal Control, when we're naming the animals, sometimes it's random, sometimes we have themes, and right now we are on a Disney theme. So you'll notice that it started with Grandma Tala from Moana, and now we have Jasmine, and Jasmine is so sweet. She came in as a stray, and as soon as she came in through the door, everybody started commenting on how sweet she was. She quickly went on the adoption floor once her stray days were up, and now everyone, staff and volunteers who hadn't yet met her are falling in love with her. She is going to make someone a wonderful pet. She's about 6 to 8 months old, so she's still a kitten, and she loves to play, she loves to cuddle. She's actually in our greeter cage, which is the first cage that's right at eye level when you walk on the cat adoption floor, and she is loving being there. She loves all the attention that she gets. Because she's a stray, we only know what we've learned about her here in the shelter. So as she's here for a longer period of time, we'll start learning more things about her. You know, she might not be on the show again, but if you're interested and you want to know more information, you can always check our Facebook page. All the animals have profile pictures there, and if you don't want to come in and visit the animal yourself, but you're curious, you can look on there. Our volunteers are always writing, you know, little comments about their experiences with the animals, how they've seen them interact with people, other animals, things like that. That can be very helpful when you're looking to pick out another pet. Another thing that can be really helpful is our color coding system. That's a great way to match an animal with your lifestyle. Jasmine is color-coded orange, which means that she's an average cat. We call it individually average because all animals have their own unique personalities. But as a cat, she's playful when she wants to be playful. She's cuddly when she wants to be cuddly. You can pick her up and do things to her, but within reason. She might not want to be held for an hour, but she might be content to be held for, 10 or 15 minutes. You just want to give her the freedom to be her individual self. But she's a pretty easygoing cat. Because she is not yet spayed, we will make sure that she's spayed before she leaves. She'll also be rabies vaccinated. We've already given her distemper vaccine. We've microchipped her. We've given her dewormer, flea and tick preventative. We also check all the cats and kittens for feline leukemia and feline AIDS, which she tested negative for. So you really can't beat the deal with what you're getting. You're getting an animal that has been vet checked and is going to be a good animal suitable for your home. Continuing our Disney theme, this pretty girl is Belle, and she has a lot to say this morning. She's very chatty. She came to us as a stray. However, she was previously owned because she was microchipped. Sometimes animals come microchipped, and we try to find the owners. They either don't come forward or the information has changed and we're unable to actually get in touch with the true new owner. So when you're making changes, you're moving, you're changing your phone number, it's really important that you call whatever company your pets are microchipped through and update them. If the information on that chip and that registration is incorrect, it makes it really hard for all of us working in shelters and vets offices to get animals back to their proper homes. So you really want to make sure you're doing your due diligence each time you're making those moves. All of our animals here are microchipped already when you take them home, and we do register that as the first time it's a new chip for you. For animals like Belle, who are already microchipped, what we'll do is we'll give you the information in the company so that you can then call them and say, I just adopted this animal from a shelter, I need to change the microchip. Generally, that should be free. You shouldn't be having to pay an update fee because you've recently adopted that animal. Belle is about 4 years old. That's what we've aged her at based on her teeth, musculature, things like that. She's a brown tabby with white. She's a very pretty girl. She's very kind of more outgoing in her cage. She comes to the front pretty easily. She's not as playful as some of the younger cats on the floor, but as you can see, she's quite content sitting on a lap, and a lot of people want that cat that's going to kind of cuddle up with them and be their constant companion and best friend in the house. But keeping in mind that she will also be more than willing to share her opinions with you. So if you're looking for a cat that's going to be nice and quiet, then Belle might not be the right one for you. She's not as loud on the adoption floor where she's comfortable, but this is a new environment, so she's letting us know that she's a little stressed. But once she gets comfortable, she might also be chatty just because she wants to talk to you. Some animals, they just want to chat and have a conversation, and some adopters really like that. It lets them know that there's a presence in the house and keeps them good company. Belle would be adopted for that $97.50 adoption fee. If you wanted to visit with Belle or any of our adoptable animals, the kennels are open for visitation on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays from 10 to 5, on Wednesdays and Thursdays from 12 to 8, and on Saturdays from 10 to 4. The last guest on the show today is Helen, and some people might not know what Disney movie that's from. That's actually from The Incredibles, Helen Parr, and we named her that because Helen is Elastigirl, and Helen here is polydactyl, and she has very prominent polydactyl toes, so Elastigirl can stretch farther, and when you look at our Helen, she can kind of stretch farther because she's got more toes to reach them with. So that's kind of how she got her name. A lot of people are really into polydactyl cats. It's just a genetic, for all intents and purposes, a birth defect. But a lot of people like it. It makes the cats unique, and it definitely makes them stand out. She has lots of extra toes on all 4 feet. Because of the increased soft tissue, it makes it look more prominent, but it's just really cool to look at, and when she's kneading, it's really, very interesting and entertaining to kind of watch. But aside from her amazingly cute feet, she is a sweet cat in general. She does have some hair loss and some thinning hair, and that came from a flea allergy is what we think. So just like with Georgia, that we had on earlier in the show, who was also a tortie, you want to make sure you're keeping her on flea and tick preventative year-round to prevent any of those flea allergies from kicking up and possibly causing further hair loss for her in the future. Fleas can be very painful for the animals. It's very irritating. Just think of when you are covered in mosquito bites. But for her, it's going to have that added issue of causing an allergic reaction, even increased lack of comfort, and as well as that hair loss. George is about 7 years old, so she does qualify for that senior discount. She has a grade 2 of 4 on her, as far as her teeth are concerned. So she too may need a dental somewhere down the line just to get her teeth cleaned, and any teeth that are unhealthy, getting those removed. And then we'll also make sure that she gets spayed. She was previously owned, but she came in without a name, so we don't have a lot of information from the previous owner. But just take a little time to get to know her and visit with her. She might be the perfect cat for you. That's going to wrap it up for this week's show. We hope that you'll tune in again next week when we introduce you to 10 more animals that are going to be looking for their forever homes. We hope that you'll stop in and visit with some of our adoptable animals and maybe make them part of your family.